What's up guys, today we'll be going over the new Warlock exotic gauntlets, Necrotic grip. Before we get into the video, I'm going to be linking a G Fuel giveaway for Destiny 2. And make sure to use my code AIR, which is 30% off right now for G Fuel through Monday. It's the best time to stock up on all the new flavors. Anyways, let's begin with the video. So the way to get this exotic armor piece is different from previous ones. Instead of it being just pure RNG, all the new ones drop from Legend Lost Sectors when you solo them. And as you see, the Concealed Void Lost Sector will drop exotic arm pieces when you solo it. And I made a guide on how to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and link that in the description and the comments. So if you need help soloing that Lost Sector, go ahead and watch that video. But in this video, we will be breaking down exactly what this exotic does. Then we'll also be making a few cool builds to take advantage of this exotic. And these things are absolutely broken in PvE, as you'll find out throughout this video. So first, looking at the exotic perk, damaging combatants with melee attacks corrupts them with increasing damage over time. Defeating a corrupted combatant spreads the corrupting effect to nearby targets and restores melee energy. So how this works is when you melee something, it will start to poison them and do a dot damage, and that damage of the dot will scale up the longer it lasts, and that will last for almost 10 full seconds. And the dot starts at 880 and goes all the way up to 4316, which means it scales up by 390% over the 10 seconds. Then it also does a total damage of 46,000, which is quite a lot for just a regular melee. Then the thing that makes this insane for PvE is when you kill an enemy that already has a dot damage on them, it will then do a burst of energy around them and spread to nearby targets, which means they then take the dot damage, and when they die, it will do the same thing and pretty much just start a chain reaction over and over again. As long as there's enemies nearby, it pretty much starts spreading like wildfire. Then the last part of the exotic perk is whenever you defeat a target that is under the dot damage, it should restore melee energy. And this works here and there, so I'm not sure if it's like on a cooldown or something like that, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But as you see in this clip, every once in a while I get a good chunk of melee energy back whenever it spreads to nearby targets. So how good are these zines in PvE? Well, I'm just gonna let one single clip do the talking for me. So in the Shuro encounter in the last Wish raid, I'm gonna use 3 melees in total to clear out all of the taken ads. So 60 or 70 different taken enemies, including knights and captains, 3 melees. As you see, the third melee, it's still spreading. Still spreading. Yeah, still going. Okay. Oh, these things are actually insane. And if that wasn't enough, you can also use these exotics with Thorn, and it works the exact same way. So what do I mean by that? Well, whenever you get a kill with Thorn, it will do that burst of the dot damage and then spread to nearby enemies, and they will receive that dot damage that scales up, and if they die to it, it will then spread even more. So we can pretty much do everything we're doing with our melee, but with Thorn kills. And I'm not quite sure if this is intended or not. I've seen a lot of people doing this in PvP, and I saw clips on Twitter, and that's how I found out about it myself. So I'm not quite sure if this is intended or not. And if there's any Bungie employees out there listening to me, this does not break PvE in any way. The Thorn pretty much does the same thing that a base melee would do, which you have unlimited melees, obviously, so pretty much doesn't change anything in PvE. Then in PvP, Trials is already delayed by like several weekends, and Comp is already in a pretty bad spot with stasis as is. So I don't think this will make anything in the game worse or broken in any way. So just fix it and put out a hotfix whenever that's fixed, and don't disable any of the exotics in this video. It's pretty simple. Anyways, moving on to a crazy build to take advantage of this exotic. We're going to be starting off with Top Tree Dawnblade for Celestial Fire, which is the ranged melee, then also Winged Sun, which means airborne final blows extend the effects of feat rises and grant melee energy. Then looking at our weapons, we're going to be using Thorn right now. If it is unintended and it gets fixed in the future, you can pretty much use whatever exotic primary of choice. Then you can use pretty much whatever special of choice. Then I'm going to be using a sword for boss damage, for example, Falling Guillotine. Now look at the mods I'll be using in this build. The first one will be Charge Harvester, which will allow us to become Charge of Light with all the dot damage and the spreading of all that stuff. Then we'll be using stacks on stacks, that way whenever that does proc, we'll get 2 stacks of Charge of Light. Then with those stacks, we have 3 different perks. The first being Heavy Handed, which will give us half of our melee back whenever we use it. So pretty much we'll have infinite top tree Dawnblade melees. Then we'll also have Protective Light because we'll be playing pretty aggressively with this build. So if we do become red bar, that will save us. Then the final mod will be Reactive Pulse, which is when we're surrounded by multiple enemies and take damage, it'll do a burst of arc energy that will kill all the veins around us. So pretty much the way this build works is you pop your grenade to float in the air, then use your ranged melee to start the poison, and it'll spread all over the place. And as you do that, you will then get your melee back because of the top tree, then also heavy-handed. So you should have pretty much infinite range melees that will start the dot and spread all over the place. Then for whatever reason, if you need it, you have Thorn, but like I mentioned, Thorn isn't a make or break for this build at all. You can pretty much use your melee over and over again and do everything that Thorn could do anyways. Then we also have Reactive Pulse just to add to the fact that we can just pretty much float around and do nothing. And then finally Protective Light, if we become red bar, that will save us in some different situations. So overall, this exotic is just insanely good in PvE. I would say it's borderline broken. There is pretty much no situation where this wouldn't be good. If you're dealing with a big group of red bars, this dot damage just spreads through them like wildfire. If you're dealing with a bunch of majors, doing that dot damage to all of them that scales up over time, I mean, that will just help you clear them out even quicker. Then even for bosses, I mean, doing that 46,000 damage for free pretty much, I mean, that is also extremely good. And given the fact that you don't even have to melee the boss, you can just shoot things or use your melee near the boss and it'll eventually spread to them. So overall, this exotic is god tier for pretty much every single type of PvE content, from like the low end of just farming bounties or something like that to strikes, gambit, crucible, then all the way up to raids. There is no situation where this wouldn't benefit you in some way, and that is why I think it's one of the most broken exotics in the entire game, and it is insanely powerful. Anyways, the rest of the video will just be a bunch of strike gameplay. Once again, I am now partnered with G Fuel. Make sure to use my code 30% off through Monday. Also, if you're new to Steam and you do not have Beyond Light or any edition of Destiny 2, you can also check out my Nexus.gg store, which is a place where you can purchase all those different things I just mentioned for the same price as Steam, but a little bit of the purchase will support me. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.